Hi there, and thank you for clicking on my video. This is a requested build. Mr. T Chick 6837 requested an Acceltra build. Um, this is a very popular weapon for obvious reasons. Gauss's signature, and more importantly, we'll be getting a prime relatively soon. So pretty meta weapon for the longest time, and it still is. I'm not gonna lie, due to the restraints on this weapon, just due to like its capacity, specifically for ammo. Um, this weapon can get very expensive very quickly to mod. So let's take a look at some of the builds. There's basically two. We'll start out as usual. We'll get our standard scalings, base damage, multi-hit, crit damage, crit chance, and fire rate. So this is a pretty ordinary core set of 5 mods. All of these status boosts, if you will, have to be considered. Um, the issue is that the ammo max on this weapon is horrible. So we're not getting any gimmies today. We are going to have to mod for some sort of ammo mutation. Whichever one you have, I would say for this, just because of how small the ammo max is, if you have the choice between vigilante supplies and rifle ammo mutation, it might be worthwhile just doing rifle ammo mutation, even over vigilante supplies, unless you want to do the vigilante set. And I'll show that alternative in a second. So for now, consider these interchangeable. But you, for how small the ammo max is on this and how quickly you burn through ammo, I would recommend doing the rifle ammo mutation for now. So for pretty standard, say like a star chart build, it's simply going to be modding against whatever the enemy is weak to. So corrosive for Grenier, gas for infested, toxin, or like magnetic. If you want for Corpus, and just put as much raw damage on it as possible. One of the things you can also do, but we're talking about bounty mods. Swap out, even though it does reduce our fire rate, the magazine is 48, the fire rate is 12. You're still going to burn through it pretty quickly. So this helps you with the ammo economy and puts an additional multiplier on, which will be more relevant later. But this will give you slash procs on crit, and point strike on its own gets us to 80%. So this should be something pretty accessible to most people. Um, the hardest thing to get is either going to be split chamber or 100 munitions or the electric mod. So let's take a look at what its damage is. Even against 190s, it should do somewhat well. Oh, you know what I got on? You want to make sure you stay a bit away from the enemies so you can get the secondary explosion. If you get too close to them, it's just the primary fire and the weapon's pretty weak. On enough distance, you will get the explosion. It's going to help out your kills per second or kills per minute or however you want to time it. It will help out a bunch, especially when you're shooting into groups. And you want to be hitting at least one target with your main shot. Don't rely on the AoE. So the weapon does have limits, and it's mostly due to the ammo max. As you can see, we ran out. But the damage is definitely there. It's pretty decent. So let's upgrade the build even more. This is star chart. You're starting out. You managed to get it, and you built it, but you haven't gotten past like arbitrations or anything like that. This would be something you would be looking for. Don't worry about fire rate because frankly, um, it hurts your ammo economy, um, and you're gonna have a tough time keeping the ammo up. And obviously, you want a gun you can use, right? The weapon could do billions of damage each shot, but if it doesn't have any ammo, it's not doing anything. So don't worry about fire rate. Just if you have it, put 100 munitions, do corrosive, um, and don't worry about the fall off because they nerfed the AOE. There really isn't too much purpose for it. When you do prime firestorm, it only goes from 4 uh, to 5 3/4. So I don't know. It seems like it's bugged a little bit because that is not a 44% increase, right? So, anyways. Okay, so how would we upgrade this? Let's go to arbitrations. We'll take everything off, and we'll look at a base steel path level build. It's going to be the same modifiers. Your go-to is going to be primary merciless for a good bit of this. Eventually, when you start talking like way later game, where you're doing longer runs, you will eventually want to go over to the deadhead and a raw damage build. But that's because you're going to be full stripping everything. But for the most part, primary merciless is perfectly fine. Primed ammo mutation. If you don't have that, vigilante supplies. Though I would recommend not worrying about the additional crit tier, as helpful as that is. Just doing the regular rifle ammo mutation because it does give you the 50% ammo pickup on the secondaries, right? And you need it. So, anyway, let's do galvanized. Okay, so our multi-shot is going to go to galvanized chamber. We're going to get additional scaling from galvanized aptitude. Yes, this is a galvanized aptitude build because we're going to be using the core hit to boost our damage as much as possible. Because if you don't, the AoE might not be enough to kill easily. So if you don't have your primary merciless stacked up, and you're having trouble keeping ammo, you want as many multipliers as you want on the damage. Though technically, galvanized aptitude, if you're considering all of the damage, a raw damage build would help you out a little bit more. So let's do crit now. We are going to lean more into crit chance, and we're going to help ourselves out with the animal economy. We're going to equip critical delay. We're still going to have 10 fire rate. The next thing we're going to do is crit damage. Standard multipliers, nothing interesting here. And then we have our choice of elements. For the standard star chart, we're actually going to keep the 100 munitions build, and you either have the option of going into like a viral 100 munitions build, which honestly for a lot I would recommend it, just because you get the multiple hits, you'll get the base damage increase. Just do like a 60-60 toxin with a primed cryo or a regular cryo. The primed cryo does feel like it edges out the damage a bit, but if you have regular cryo, I would say swap back and forth, especially if you're using a Panzer. Swap back and forth between corrosive and viral as needed. And if you're getting your elements from 2V polarities, if you've put a bunch of forma into it, just stick to using the 60-60s and don't worry about the 90 mod, right? So you could do viral here and do this, and then you would be left with a flex slot that you don't have to forma. Because like with this, especially if you have another slot, it's a lot easier to justify putting a 7 capacity mod on a bad polarity because it only boosts it up to 9, right? The next one would be is we would start using faction mods, but if you're looking for a general build, just put in regular serration or amalgam serration, and it's good as gold. So let's see how far this gets us. So we've got stacking stuff that stacks. We've got merciless. We've got the galvanized mods. First one's going to be the worst. And the weapon feels pretty good for what it is. It's viral on viral, but as soon as we strip, the damage jumps, obviously doing viral damage to no defense enemies. Yeah, the damage jumps. It's like 15,000. It goes from 4,500. So, and a headshot, 94k. So you can see that the damage definitely goes up, and this is part of the reason why I would say like a corrosive build might be more fitting for standard star chart steel path stuff. Pardon me, I had to sneeze for a second. Let's load some more guys in. We're going to swap over to a corrosive build and see what the damage difference is. This is going to give us an additional stat where instead of completely going in on viral and maxing out at 10 viral stacks, with this, we'll be able to get 10 corrosive stacks. It'll give us an additional form of multiplicative scaling, so we're not so heavy into viral and relying on that. We're going to get a big damage boost. So already with this, you can see we're hitting 700-800s with no stacks. I'm starting to see 1000s. And this is just relying on the Panzer to give us viral. So pretty standard, but the difference is watch what happens when we hit unarmored enemies. The damage went down, right? So it's a double-edged sword. If you're in the habit of stripping, then a headshot, 71, where before we got like 94, right? So it is less. 64, 56. Headshot with armor. Does a decent bit of damage, but it's not the full bonus. So for a generalist build, if you don't want to strip, and you like using the Panzer, which I would highly recommend, just go ahead and run corrosive. It's about it does better, but this is very reliant. This build is very reliant. All of the damage is stacked on the primary hit, and you're using the radial attack for puncture and slash procs for additional priming. Right, so you have the primary, the bullet itself, and then you have the radial attack, which is the explosion, which has the range the range that an enemy needs to be away from you. That has puncture and slash on it, and the bullet itself is impact only, plus whatever you mod onto it, like element wise, right? So it's the 1-2 combo. You'll get all your IPS, you'll get corrosive stacks. If you want to do a single element, I would say do heat, and then obviously your faction mod, right? But that's up to you. This is a very zippy build. Probably the most immediate upgrade would literally be getting primed rifle ammo mutation. When you see this drop in barrow, make sure to pick it up. This does a lot to help out your build. It really does, because you don't have that much give in terms of your max ammo. The ammo pickup is 40, which is almost a magazine. Um, and frankly, you need as many ammo pickups as you can. And even then, when I run this in like Steel Path, I still find myself swapping between the primary and secondary, because the enemies do eventually get so tanky if you're not running any armor strip, um, that you will just eventually run out of ammo. So that's the main issue with this, is the ammo max. Um, but to be honest, I don't feel like, obviously put an ammo drum on, right? That helps a lot. But it's straight up the ammo economy. It just seems like this is delaying needing ammo. So instead of being ammo efficient, it feels like you eventually just delay it. You also, if you do want to run this, you could run that. Um, Rely on the Merciless for base damage and Amalgam Serration, take that off, put ammo drum here if you want to run that, and then you could run like a carrier prime, right? If you're still having issues, generally a carrier prime and a rifle scavenger aura will fix it. Let me see where that's at. Rifle. Like that. But this seems like you're just trying to force a build. But I'm not going to not tell you about it, because if you like the weapon, you like the weapon. But most of the time, you're trying to run your corrosive projections, you're trying to run your briefer spites. So that's how you would fix it, and generally that's enough, because the rifle amp, or the rifle scavenger aura, increases your ammo pickup. So where before you would be getting 40, now you're picking up, hold on, whoops, not that, it would be 40 plus 150%. You would go to picking up 100 ammo, right? So it's up to you how you want to fix it, if you really, really, really want to use this weapon. But if you're looking for something where it's like a single thing and you just want to run this weapon and you really enjoy it, the rifle scavenger aura might be the way to go. Okay, let's talk about the high damage build. Okay, so we're going to strip everything again. The build is going to be fairly similar in terms of like base damage, crit delay, vital sense, multi-shot, base damage. Alright, so what are we going to do different? We're going to go for raw damage, because we need as many multipliers as possible. This is going to be a slightly sweatier build, but it is not going to rely on like a ton of procs needing to be done, because you're going to take care of that with a primer. Okay, so we're going to put our faction mods on. This is going to be your later runs. And frankly, we just straight up run out of stats that we can buff, because we have to front load the damage so much. So we're going to double down on the headshots. We're going to go for deadhead. And then to make sure we don't run out of ammo, this will be a significantly more ammo efficient build, because this is more for like disruption runs, where you're not really concerned about kills per minute, but about taking down a single enemy. So we are going to be priming. We are going to be getting our statuses on another way. And the Acceltra is purely going to be the hammer that you drop on the guy's head. Obviously, Malignant Force should be replaced with Infected Clip, but I'm having polarity issues. So this goes here. As you can see, it's a very, very straightforward build. The part of your build that is going to be doing damage is going to be the direct hit. Is going to get boosted up into the 100,000s, if not millions, depending on what the RNG is. So let's take a look at what this does. And this is going to be for those doing longer runs. And generally, this sort of setup will fix any build, if you need to single hit something like a disruption, you can use this build for most things. So we're getting 100,000s, 400k, stuff's getting stacked up. 500k, 570, 570, 486. Okay, they're dead. 570, 517. So the damage goes way up. Now we're doing hundreds of thousands, right? It's the standard viral build, and you could eke some more damage out with running that second 90 mod. So you do 165 for cold, and then you do the 90 toxin mod, and that will help out significantly. An 812. And I know it's dumb, but I would not discourage you from getting up in an enemy's face. If it helps you get headshots, just go ahead and jump on them. Okay. Let's take a proper primer this time. Because that is not the build I'm using, that primer. That's actually damage nuclear. Alright, good enough. Alright, final test. A proper primer, full strip, secondary. Three-quarters of a mil. 718. 700. $300, 700. Yeah, about three-quarters of a mil seems to be where it performs at. I've gotten like a 2 mil without using like roar or anything like that. That is just, those numbers are purely full strip, full defense strip, plus the multipliers on the weapon. Okay, so many builds or many weapons can do that damage with that type of build. Just from the multipliers that are present, they can knock that out. So, and we're not even getting reds. We're getting oranges pretty regularly. Like you can see on the frame, there is no benefit whatsoever. Anything that's benefiting the weapon itself. Just using Thera Strike for full strip. So, if you need a build that you know will level cap on any reasonable modern weapon in Warframe, this, and it's a headshot build. That's the sweatiest part about it. Just get the defense off, pure viral, blast them in the face, and make sure to not get nullified, right? So, there you go. Those would be like the couple of tiers. Give you an example of how to, prime, scale the weapon, and if you need more damage, just start priming, right? And the slash procs should generally kill. But if you're trying to do like a level cap or something, man, it's, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard to beat just raw damage at the very top end, because you can just get more multipliers on it for the raw damage. So there you go. I hope this helps. Yeah, Mr. T Chick 6837. I hope this helps, dude. All right, everybody take it easy. Have a blessed day. Later. Oh, and let me know about the audio volume.